first rider from Australia to win a Freeride World Tour.
Welcome to Treasure Talks. Today I've got Michaela Davis-Meehan, Australian snowboarder who took second place on the Freeride World Tour. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So I'm going to hold my hands up straight away and say I haven't got a great understanding of snowboarding, but it's still something that it's one of those sports, just extreme sports, just like capture your attention, don't they? And yeah, I'm looking forward to learning quite a bit. So you're currently in Switzerland. What's the lockdown situation there at the minute?
Yeah, way better than where I came from in Melbourne, Australia. I know it's like living in our own little bubble up here. Like we still have to social distance and wear masks at the shops, but like we're all still riding and it's awesome. It's like having our own private resort because there's not many people here. So it's worked out well.
That's awesome. And you've got some events coming up, haven't you? You're about to compete in the Freeriding World Tour, but I'm guessing that's been changed quite a bit due to the COVID situation as well.
Yeah, so usually there's 5 events all up, but this year they've cancelled Japan and Canada just to take out some extra travelling. So it's just going to be a Euro Tour this year. And at this point in time, there's only 3 events. So there'll be 2 events and then you'll get knocked out for the 3rd final. So it's going to be tight.
So I was watching through a few of the videos of you doing some of the runs, the different mountains and slopes. And to me, like I say, they're nuts sports to me, like extreme sports. And I've not tried any, but what kind of mentality do you have to have? And do you get into the flow state? Because that's what, I don't know if you've heard much about the flow state and just it's really being in the zone and losing track of time and just being present. But it's always associated with like sports like snowboarding. Do you think that's, do you experience that, the flow state?
Yeah, I guess so. Like you just kind of get, I don't know, like addicted to the feeling of going big and being in the air and the powder and just like the whole run. And next time you just want to go bigger and better. And everyone is a little crazy, I think. Like it's crazy what we do. I even think so. But the fun of it outweighs that. So you're willing to go bigger and better.
Yeah. Do you, at the time of it, I can imagine whatever worries you've got that day, they have to be dropped because you have to think about every move. So are you literally just in the present when you're riding?
Yeah, pretty much. I don't really think of anything else. Like it's really peaceful, I guess, because you're just focused on riding down the mountain. It's kind of like surfing. That's the same thing applies to that. When you're out in the ocean, you're just there for the wave. Here, you're just here for the turns, for the drops. Nothing else matters, which is awesome.
So you just mentioned surfing. That's something I actually wanted to ask about because if I'm right, you're the first Australian to get top place on the podium as well in Andorra. Is that right?
Yeah, last year, first Aussie, which is super cool. And yeah, hoping to maybe this year make first Aussie world champ.
Is it popular in Australia? Because it's just not something like snowboarding, I wouldn't think is. And since like I thought that I've looked and there are some mountains that you can snowboard in Australia, but is it a popular sport generally there?
No, like where I grew up, Newcastle, like there's a few towns where everyone goes to the snow. But free riding is more like newer to the scene as well. Like a lot of people are just starting to do backcountry and split boarding, which is really cool because then maybe some more people will start getting into free ride and into the competitions.
How did you get into it then? Is it something that you did from early?
I started with slopestyle, which is like the jumps and rails. So I did that for many years. And then I was just out snowboarding with Aline Bock, who's a former World Tour champion. And and my mum mentioned something about the freeride competitions. I'd never heard of them. So I was like, oh yeah, I'll give it a go. I ended up going to New Zealand and did my first ever comp, and they put just the results up on the wall. And I'm like scrolling up. I'm like, oh man, they forgot about me. Like they haven't even put me on. And then I get to the top and I won it. So I won my first freeride event. And then I just kind of was hooked from there and went from doing slopestyle competitions and kept to freeriding.
So I'm going to be asking a lot of questions around the technicalities of the different tours and the actual snowboarding itself. So one question I had, because I'm into boxing, and obviously a lot of the time I was thinking about like how you stand on the board, and I don't know if it's anything the same in boxing. Obviously, your less dominant side goes forward. What foot do
Yeah,
you lead with?
yeah, you put your most dominant leg at the back. So that's
Oh,
just
so it's
number one, especially when you're riding powder, like a lot of your weight is on your back leg. So usually when I get a massage or something, they know which is my back leg because it's a bit stronger than the other one.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I was wondering about that because of the balance. Is it something that come natural to you when you started?
I can't remember. I started when I was about 8 years old. All I remember from learning to snowboard is having a sore butt.
Yeah, I'll need to give it a go for sure. I've never tried it at all. So was it a regular thing for you when you was younger then? Just I suppose you didn't think about it too much. It was just more fun, and then that's how it's led on to this today.
You know, my parents just love skiing, so they used to take us, me and my brother, a lot to the snow. We don't live particularly close either. It's about a 7-hour drive because we grew up in a beach town. We think we'd go surfing, but yeah, we're just drawn to the snow. And at one point, we went every weekend for a whole season doing the drive. Sometimes they'd take us out of school, like on a Friday. And so, yeah, just my parents' love for the snow kind of got me into it as well.
Oh, that's so cool. Like you think the amount you must have learned from a kid, from being young, and a lot of lessons because you have to overcome a lot of barriers. I can imagine. Is there still fear today when you're about to do one of these big rides?
Yeah, I'm always like scaring myself, but
Yeah.
you know, that's part of the adrenaline rush when you can do it and get past that and then land is the best feeling. But yeah, I try not, I don't really think of injuries. I just think, oh, that's like super big. Hope I can nail it. But yeah, I've had some bad injuries and they're just kind of sit at the back of my mind. I don't really think of them. It's no good thinking of them when I'm out there.
Yeah, I can imagine the sort of more challenging it is and the more nervous you are, it's more rewarding at the end as well, isn't it? If you overcome that.
Yeah. Well, that's why I really like competitions too. Like every year before I go into the competition, I'm like, I hate this. Why do I do this to myself? And then once you finish that run, it's just the biggest adrenaline hit. And you've done it, everything you've worked up to that in that one run. And then you get to the bottom, you're like, oh, I want to go do it again.
Yeah, I can only imagine. It's nuts. I've been watching one of the runs in Andorra. If I can just pull that up and we can go through that if you don't mind. I just want to love to know what was in your mind through some of this.
Well, Andorra is going to be our first event this year. So that starts on the 20th of February.
Oh, awesome. So I bet you've got some confidence for that. Although with that said, do you have to be careful not to get too comfortable with those events? Or is it always different each time you do that, even if it's the same location?
Yeah, well, the snow is usually always different. You know, maybe some cliffs you can hit this time that you couldn't last time, or vice versa. Like, just depends what the snow's doing. Usually when I was on the qualifying tour, I try and pick a different line each year and try not to do the same. But I don't know, maybe I'll pick some of the same ones, but just try and go bigger on the same thing. We'll see.
That's awesome. Yeah. So what's going through your mind at that stage where you're just looking down and just getting yourself prepared?
Yeah, just making sure my line's there and where I want to go. Basically, before I drop in, I just kind of scope around the top and look where I'm going to, and just try and visualize every turn, because we don't actually get to ride the course at all beforehand. So it's our very first time on it, first run, and just got to remember the features where you're going to turn left and right.
That's madness. So you don't get to try all that before. This is your first time feeling it. That's madness to me.
Yeah. So we arrive the day beforehand and we get a viewing day. So we just go and look at the course, kind of having some ideas of where we want to go. And then the next day, check it out again and then go hit it for the first time.
So this part was impressive. So this was the winning run as well that we were talking about in Andorra. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah, we actually got super lucky with this competition because for the whole weather week, it was just pure ice. Like there's no way we could have competed on it. And then like the day before the last possible comp day, it just dumped snow and we got powder. So it was pretty awesome. There was a few icy patches in there, but most of it was pretty nice.
Oh, that's brilliant. Do you ever get sometimes a bit of a shock with the weather from like terrain to also, I was thinking visibility. There's one that I was watching before and there's pretty much zero visibility. And before, someone who doesn't usually watch it, I was like, it's not something that would go through my mind when you say snowboarding, how bad the visibility is. Seems silly now, but yeah.
Yeah, I've been in a couple of competitions where you literally can't see anything and you just do a big turn. You're like, I think there's something here. But then again, like that, you also get judged on going big, but also controlled. So in that kind of situation, they obviously don't want you to go as big or as crazy as you can, just for safety reasons.
That's what I was going to ask as well, is about the time, because with it being free riding, it's not about the time either, is it? Like you don't get any extra score for reaching the finish faster or anything like that. It's just literally technique, is it?
Yeah, just overall impression. So with your air, technical difficulty, fluidity, and what tricks, and just, your line and all that together, and they add it up. And obviously going fast helps too, but it's not about the quickest.
Yeah, so you don't get judged on the time, but if it's more, if it looks impressive, the control you've got over that speed, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Okay, that's brilliant. I wanted to talk about as well, I know we just mentioned injuries, if you don't mind, because I always think about it as well. Going back to boxing and things like that, you wouldn't ask a boxer if they're scared of getting KO'd. And I bet you get asked all the time about injuries and that fear. Is that something you try and switch off or not?
Yeah, I just don't really think about it.
Until someone like me asks about it.
I have had 2 major injuries. Like I broke my back in 2010. So that was a big one, and had spinal fusion and all that good stuff. And I actually took a year off, and then I went and did a TAFE course, got a job, and about 9 months into that, I was like, oh my God, what is this? This sucks, I'm going back.
So was you debating at that point of just giving it up for good?
I thought about it. I was like, oh, maybe I shouldn't do it. Like, because I had a walker, for like 6 weeks and had to kind of reload the walk a little bit. And it was just a long year. But then, once it healed up and I got back to it, there was no way I wasn't going back.
Yeah, I bet you couldn't even imagine being on the slopes when you're in that much pain, initially when you're, it's the last thing on your mind.
I think everyone who gets injured at the snow heals quicker because they try really hard to get back to being back on the snow. It's like an incentive because everyone just wants to go back straight away, which is crazy. But
and what was the recovery like then? What did you have to do, and then how long? Was it literally just a year, and then you decided, right, I'm going back into it? Because that's a real quick turnaround.
Yeah, I came back and I just kind of cruised at the start and went around the jumps. But as I eased back into it, I think taking a few hits, like hard hits, and realizing that it's okay, that kind of gets you back to, all right, I've got this. That kind of happened. My latest injury was my ACL reconstruction. And my first day back on the snow over this way in Europe, I landed flat like on this jump and my binding exploded into 3 pieces. I just grabbed my knee and then I was like, oh, actually, nothing hurts. And that's when I was like, okay, I'm back. I can go back to it. And then I just stopped thinking of it.
Because often after an ACL injury as well, your knee's usually stronger, isn't it, after the surgery, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it is with the rehab at least, because I did do so much. And then I think my bad leg is stronger than my good one.
Oh, okay.
Now,
you mentioned about, getting a job. And for me, I don't like having a boss, and I don't like the 9 till 5. And I don't know, I just think with the kind of things you're doing, and I've seen that you're always up to other adventures as well, through socials and stuff. Are you a 9 till 5 person? Can you see yourself ever being that?
I couldn't do it. Even after snowboarding, I'm going to have to find something that doesn't involve that.
Yeah, I don't blame you. And obviously you're traveling a lot as well then. If you're in Switzerland now,
Hmm.
I'm sure you want to keep doing that.
Yeah, travel a lot. That's living the dream at the moment. Just see how long I can keep it lasting and just keep it going forever.
And you're sponsored by the North Face as well, aren't you?
Yep.
So do these sponsors help you do it as a living? So you
Yeah,
can
they
do
help
this?
a little bit. Obviously, snow and especially in Australia isn't a huge market, so there's not a lot of money in the sport anyway. But yeah, my sponsors, I've got 12 Board Store, which is a shop in Melbourne, and NFPD brand, and Sun God goggles. They all helped a lot, but and prize money helps. But usually, I have a bar job as well back in Australia in the off season, just working and saving so I can come and do these 3-month long trips of snowboarding.
Yeah, because obviously, are you close to like those mountains we talked about in Australia, so you can practice back at home or not?
Yeah, sometimes I just go for the season, or lately I've just been going for a few weeks here and there, just so I can work in the off season. But last year, being on World Tour and winning a few comps helped out a lot. I didn't have to work as much, which was awesome.
I like to hear that because obviously you're getting the prizes and the money from that as well. Then is that why?
Yeah, prize money from that, but yeah, it's tough because like we don't get any government money or anything like that either. So just kind of doing it all
Yeah,
myself and making it work. It's worth
yeah,
the lifestyle.
exactly. That's what it's all about, isn't it? Because obviously, if you calculate the hours that you're putting in, you won't be paid much. But it's all about the passion and the lifestyle, isn't it? For
Yeah,
something.
exactly. I don't think anyone does it for the money,
Yeah.
but it does. It is nice. Bonus.
So with being in Australia, I was thinking about, when people are practicing to cycle, they've got like turbo trainers so they can do it from home, and they also simulate the different trails. So what do you do for snowboarding? Can you get that same simulation somewhere else through, I don't know, is the places that you can snowboard or do you skateboard? Would that be any sort of consolation?
Yeah, it's pretty hard. Most of it's just keeping strong, ideally, just mostly legs and abs to take those drops. So yeah, I just do weights and some strongman training.
Yes, so you do some training, some PT training and things like that.
Yeah, and then surfing too is really good. And I did also some boxing. I did one of those like 10-week challenges where you have like a fight right at the end. That was really fun. And you don't realize how fit boxers are until you do that. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's a good experience, isn't it? I've done the same as well, where you do like a camp and then
Yeah.
see how you get on to get the experience. How was that? And how was it compared to what you experienced from snowboarding?
I think I was actually more nervous for the fight than I was for a snowboard competition. Like, just because all the nerves, the adrenaline was going so much. And yeah, it was really fun. I ended up winning by TKO.
Oh, really? Nice.
Yeah.
Did you pick up the skills quite quick with that? I can imagine there's a lot of things that translate from stance to also knowing knowing how to handle your nerves.
Yeah, and it's good too for like quick reflexes because like we need that when we're free riding. 'Cause maybe we come up to a line where we were going to jump off, but it's maybe there's rocks covering it, and you got to kind of think on your toes and think quick where you're going to go and see where your line goes to.
I love things like that, like just seeing what different sports involve. Like that's why I can never decide on one sport. I'm always trying one thing and trying the other because I just like the insight into it and what it's all about. And you often find that, don't you? They translate over. They have their similarities.
Yeah, for sure. I've even tried. I've just got my paragliding license last year too.
Oh no.
We went for a fly here the other day. Yeah, I just love anything like action and outdoors. I mean,
So I saw that some paragliding videos, and I've never thought about wanting to do it, but I want to. But it terrifies me the thought of it as well. But that's sort of the enjoyment.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that would be brilliant. Are you a bit of an adrenaline junkie? I think that you hear that term thrown around all the time, and you think it makes it sound like it's an illness, doesn't it? Adrenaline junkie, but it's just about putting yourself in those uncomfortable situations and getting through them. That's what's amazing about extreme sports.
Yeah, I love it. Like I've got my road bike back home as well. I just did a big camping road trip, but I love riding through, you know, like those windy roads, and I got real low and like scraped my pedal a little bit. You get that little adrenaline hit. I love it. Just like that's so close to something going super terribly wrong, but coming out of it.
So you like to just stay on that fine line of danger,
Yeah.
danger and safety. Yeah, that's what I always wonder as well with the mentality of with people who do these kind of sports. You have to be made a little bit differently. You have to be that focused and that, and not scared to challenge yourself, don't you?
Yeah. Well, I definitely still scare myself, but I just push through and do it anyway.
Do you visualize when you're thinking of an event? You've got one coming up in February. Have you already sat and visualized the line that you're going to take? And
no, because once again, like if the snow's different, like it could be totally different line. But visualization, actually, that's what's like got me through, I think, to the World Tour. I just randomly saw this rock climbing film fest in Innsbruck a couple of years back, and watched this one guy. I can't remember his name. He's like one of the top rock climbers, and he would just like get on his back and full practice like he's doing the rock climbing face, and he gets really into it as well. I was like,
is that Alex Honnold? Is that?
Yeah, I think that's who it was. So yeah, I was like, oh, I'll try and transfer that to my snowboarding, because I would get lost all the time, and you just end up, you're like, I don't think this is where I should be. And then I started doing that, like just watching my line. I would shut my eyes and pretend I'm actually doing the run. Like, okay, I go left around this tree, turn right there. And I just started finding my line every time, which was awesome, and made to the World Tour. So yeah, just visualizing the day before, that night, and in the morning is when I do it.
That's fascinating that you think it through like that. And to touch on the way we brought that up, then, is it hard to not visualize too much? Because if you put too much stock in it being a certain line or a certain feel, and then it's not, I guess all of a sudden you'll be shocked if you visualize too much and get too comfortable. Is that a potential problem?
Maybe. I don't like to like think about it too much and like stress too much on it, because maybe you overthink it, but just enough so that I know where my turns are, and just like visualizing landing a drop, I think helps as well.
Yeah, that makes sense. Is it a lonely sport? You know, once you start that line, and like you said about getting lost, does it feel a bit lonely then, or not? Because it's a very individual sport in that sense, isn't it?
Yeah, no, I don't think it feels lonely at all. It's awesome feeling, and then you've got everyone else there on the same stoke because they've just gone through the same thing. So it's even, if anything, I find like snowboarding's team sport. Like I have my best days out when I'm riding with crew, and I ride the best when you're just having fun and trying new things.
Okay, yeah, because I wanted to ask about that as well, actually. You see in free running that they're competitive, but it's like yourself against yourself, and the others are just pushing your boundaries by, one takes it the next notch and then you try and push, but it's more against yourself. Is that the kind of atmosphere in free riding as well? You're just pushing each other and it's not too competitive?
Yeah, it's just like that. Like I love the vibes of free riding. You get there, it's just kind of one big family. You're all traveling to each event and being at the same place every time, and because it is such a dangerous sport, like everyone wants you to do well, but they just want to do better.
Yeah.
So everyone, and like you finish your run and everyone's waiting at the bottom and cheering each other on. So it's awesome. I'm friends with all the girls. They're really nice. But on game day, everyone's like in their bubble, but as soon as it's done, the after party's awesome.
Where do you stay then? Do you stay somewhere near? Because I saw some footage of you camping as well and then doing the trails.
They usually just put us up in hotels at the resorts. And then in between that, most of the people are European, so they just go back to a base where they live for the season and then go from comp to comp. But because I'm coming all the way from Australia, usually I just hire a car and just go wherever in between, see who I meet or who's over here. But this year I'm in Nanda, Switzerland, just crashing at a friend's house in between comps, which is nice too.
That's awesome. And you've got Switzerland and Andorra. Where else are you this year? I think you mentioned it at the start. You've got the 3 different mountains.
Yeah, so it goes Andorra, Fieberbrunn, which is Austria, and then the finals are in Verbier, which is back in Switzerland.
What other countries have you been off the back of this sport?
Oh, lots of places. Been traveling in the States and Canada, Japan. But the coolest place snowboarding's ever taken me was Iran. We went to Iran a few years back to snowboard, and it was incredible. I want to go back.
I wouldn't have even thought of Iran in that mix either. It's
Yeah,
Oh yeah, I'd love to see that as well. Amazing. So when these runs are over, what do you do for recovery? We talked about strength training and how to sort of stay active when you're not snowboarding. But what do you do after? Is there a lot of recovery, and do you look into your nutrition or anything like that as well?
yeah, a little bit. Like I eat pretty well. I don't follow a strict diet or anything like that. But yeah, I guess just keep snowboarding until the season's done. And then once I'm back home, just get into the off-season training and just trying to get as strong as I can, ready for the next year.
Yeah, that makes sense as well. Do you do a lot of prep in terms of like have you got rituals and things like that when you're literally on the week, the day of the competition? What are your rituals, or have you got any little secrets like that?
Not really. I think for me, not thinking about it too much the night before helps. Like I do it on the day and I process it all, and then I just kind of switch it off for the rest of the night, just so I'm not stressing or worrying about anything. And then I get another fresh look at the face the next day, and kind of just double check my line. But yeah, apart from that, just another day really.
Yeah, I'm guessing you arrived there a little bit before in the country and nearby, and then do you have to go up nice and early in the morning the same day?
Yeah, I usually get in like a day before, and then you'll have a day of just being able to view the face. So we just look at it. And you can look at it as long as you like. And then the next day is comp day.
Okay.
Quick.
Okay, that's cool. What would you say to people who are thinking about potentially going into a sport like this one? Would you have any advice for people?
Ooh, just do it. You just got to get out there and find some people think of excuses or like, oh, I'm not good enough. But what I love about free riding as well, that like you can make it as easy or as hard as you want. Like you could pick the fun, powder line, just kind of going straight through the middle. Or if you're feeling on that day, you might want to take a bigger cliff or drop. So it's up to how you're feeling on the day as well, how hard you want to go. Give it a go.
It sounds like you really have to go for it as well to even start, though. Just the thought of going down any sort of slope when you've got no experience. I'm guessing you just start really small, like you say, and then gradually build the slopes then.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like the World Surf Tour, I think. Like they have the qualifying tour and they have like 1-star events, which are the kind of easier faces that anyone can get into. And then to get into the higher ones, like you've got to qualify for those, like get some points up, and then you can do 2-star, 3-star, and then 4-star. So they don't throw you straight into the big ones.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And as soon as you said about the excuses, I was thinking of myself there. I was already thinking it's not something that comes natural to me. I've never tried skiing or snowboarding, I don't think, actually. But yeah, just can't imagine it coming natural. I've tried a bit of skateboarding. I wasn't great at that.
Well, snowboarding might be a thing then.
I'll have to give it a go. Yeah, so what does your general week look like when you're training? Are you on them slopes like every day? Now you're in Switzerland now, so yeah, if you could talk us through like the prep for this February.
So I arrived maybe 3 weeks ago, and just the plan was just be on snow as much as I can. Kind of the first week, like felt a bit like Bambi. My legs weren't working, and I was like, "What is this? How to snowboard?" But yeah, now my legs are coming too, and because I've had about a year off now since the whole lockdown and everything, but I'm starting to feel back to normal on the board, and yeah, I'm just starting to practice hitting drops and picking lines and just being on snow as much as I can leading up to it.
Well, do you think the lockdown will impact the sport big time because of this time off, not for just you individually, but as a sport as a whole?
Yeah, I'm not sure what will happen with it. It's I think every industry will take a bit of a hit. So
Yeah,
hopefully we'll push through it and keep it going.
yeah, because we're yet to
Yeah,
see the kind
great
of
job done just to run it. Like they're putting in a lot of effort, which is awesome.
yeah, it's good to see the sports that are still going because we are yet to see the impact of a lot of the knock-on effects of these sports. Mostly at the grassroots for a lot of it, like for the people who are starting off more than the pros, I think.
Yeah, for sure. That'll be tough, especially people wanting to go overseas this year. They're missing out. Well, we missed our Australian season and this season, so
Yeah.
it's a bit of a hit.
What's your plan then for future goals in terms of snowboarding? And once you get these, obviously you've got the events coming up. Have you got any goals after that? And yeah, to keep advancing.
Um, yeah, my main goals at the moment and focus is just trying to make world champion and win the world tour. And then I hope I can stay on it for the next few years. That's the plan. Yeah, I wouldn't mind getting into maybe some filming, doing some trips. I wouldn't mind going to Alaska or somewhere, just do some big power lines, and yeah, it's better my snowboarding and keep doing what I love.
Yeah, I saw you have got a YouTube as well, haven't you? And you've been recording some of the trips.
Some of it, yeah. I actually did my diploma in film and television during lockdown, so I wouldn't mind getting into trying to edit a bit more, and it definitely helps with my snowboarding because it's so hard to get a filmer or someone if your friends want to film because everyone just wants to ride. So yeah, it'd be cool to do some of that.
How would you record then? It would all be just from a GoPro footage, do you think? I'm guessing.
Yeah, probably. I'd have to get someone else to help film, but I could put it together.
Yeah,
So
that's all.
Yeah, I'll film at home, but when I'm at the snow, someone can film me.
That's brilliant. So you did that in lockdown as well, just keep yourself busy.
Yeah, because we were in the harsh one. We were locked down for like 115 days or something crazy. So yeah, I did my diploma and gave me something to do, kept me busy and sane.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, I forgot in Australia, obviously, it was a lot more strict, wasn't it? When the lockdown came in. But yeah,
Yeah.
so when are you going back to Australia now?
Well, the plan is to go back just after the last comp in March. I've got to get back for my brother's wedding, but to do that is going to be tight because there'll be our competition. Then I have to get home to quarantine for 2 weeks, and then the wedding's on. But my flight home's already been cancelled, so we'll see what happens. I might live here now.
Yeah, I think it's hard to plan anything, isn't it, at the minute? So that's why I think it's awesome that they've kept these events going, even with having to compromise a little bit to keep them running and keep you guys busy doing what you love.
Yeah, it's going to be a very different season this year, like no after parties or social gatherings, or you just kind of go do the comp. They've got a lot of COVID safety precautions in place, so be a bit different, but hopefully the snow's good.
Yeah, that must be difficult for you though. You mentioned there's Europeans mostly at these tournaments, so it's a bit easier for those to go home, isn't it?
Yeah, they can leave. There's been, I think some people aren't coming over, like from New Zealand, just because of how hard it is. And like for the quarantine back home, that costs $3,000 out of our pocket that we have to pay. So we've got to get there, come over, and then go home. And yeah, it's a big mission for sure.
Yeah, it sounds it. Yeah, I did hear that as well with the hotels. When so you're going back for your brother's wedding. I can imagine this conversation we're having now, you've had 100 times with people because, most people doing their usual office job and things like that, but you've something that stands out that everyone wants to know about, I can imagine. How do people treat it when they find out what
Yeah.
you do?
Yeah, they're just frothing, stoked about it, and just want to know. Yeah, I guess mostly how I got into it from Newcastle in Australia, especially when I come over here. A lot of the people are asking, "Wait, do you even have snow in Australia?" So that's pretty
Yeah.
funny.
It's literally the
Yeah,
first thing I thought of as well.
yeah, yeah. Like, yeah, we got some snow.
Yeah, so it's quite inspiring though, isn't it? Like you're out there chasing your passion. Would you have any advice to anybody, not just doing snowboarding, but like anything that they want to go for and grab, and maybe compare it to the way you did it?
Yeah, I guess again, just do it. Like I get so many people telling me how lucky I am, and I'm like, why don't you go? And they're like, oh no, I've got my job, and and I've got to pay for this. I'm like, anyone can do it. Like you've just got to take that leap and save up and just go, make it happen. Like
Yeah,
I had at one time, like I was working 3 jobs for a while back in Australia just so I can have this time off as well. So it can
yeah,
be done.
yeah. It's well worth it, isn't it? When you're doing something you love, yeah, it's well worth making those sacrifices before. And I've done it myself, but I've also been on the other side of that coin, where I do make the excuses. And as soon as I hear you say it, I think, yeah, sometimes we put obstacles there, don't we?
Yeah, and they're not even like obstacles, like you can go around them. You just kind of make excuses for yourself, or if it's too hard or something. But yeah, it's definitely worth it. Like I almost actually didn't come over here. I mean, it's a bit different with the pandemic and everything, but I'm so glad that I made it happen and filled out all the forms and did it because it's so worth being back over. Love it.
Yeah, definitely. I can only imagine that feeling as well. When you sacrifice all that, you put that in, and then you got that podium spot as well. Second, is that your biggest achievement so far as well in snowboarding? That's second place in the FWT. Is that right?
Yeah, I'd say so for sure. Like just making the world tour has been my biggest one, I think. In the big leagues now, which is
Yeah.
pretty cool.
What's your most memorable experience? Is that it as well, or have you got any others? Maybe when you first broke into those big leagues, was that a major memory?
Yeah, probably. Well, I started my first big event when I think I was about 17, was the World Rookie Fest. So I won that one when I was younger, and that was pretty major for me at that time. And that kind of kicked off traveling Europe and finding competitions to do. That was my first year doing that, which was awesome. And yeah, just making the world tour was a great experience. I remember we were hiking up for another event. There was one more meant to be left, but it got cancelled, which means that they did the current rankings and I was on top. So someone came down, they're like, comp's cancelled, you're on the tour. And I didn't quite register. I was like, nah, I don't know. I'll wait till I hear it from an official first. And then everyone's coming down like, yeah, you're on it. And it was just, yeah, awesome feeling.
Yeah, I can imagine the feeling of that. That must be unreal.
Yeah.
Everything you've worked for and then getting there. That's amazing. What else do you do if we're talking about the adrenaline that you get from this? Do you find it hard to find other things to enjoy, or do you just you say you've got your motorbike and you also like traveling and camping?
I love getting it from other places too. Like I love my snowboarding, but I love like having a bit of summer and surfing and riding my bike and doing all of that as well. Like as much as I love doing back-to-back seasons, I still need that break to do other things.
Yeah, to sort of take your mind off that a little bit as well.
Yeah.
So you're not just constantly on it.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I think I've asked everything that I wanted to, and it's like a great insight into something that I'm not familiar with as well. And it's inspiring to just have that attitude to push on and take away the obstacles, like we said.
Yeah.
But I look forward to seeing how you get on in these upcoming events as well. I'll follow your progress. Where can people follow you?
Yeah, just on my Instagram or Facebook, it's just my full name, Michaela Davis-Meehan. Yeah, and check out the Freeride World Tour. That's coming up soon. And they usually do a live broadcast of it, so you can watch it online, stream it live.
Oh, that's brilliant. Yeah, I'll have a look at that for sure. That's just on their site as well then to watch it. Perfect. I'll have a watch of that. But thanks for coming on. It's been fun. And like I say, I enjoyed watching it, and hopefully I'll get to see your edits as well, your video edits on your channel.
Yeah, for sure. I'll keep posting them up. And you have to come snowboarding sometime.
Yeah, I'll have to give it a go. not make excuses.
That's it.
Perfect. Thank you.
Right, cheers.